whole advantage of AI is connecting dots in all in one place, right? Like from creation to the result of that creation, can I then improve the creation next time, considering I know that hey, yellow doesn't work for my campaign, but like a orange hue works for me, and can I then pull it back? So when you have multiple tools, unless they talk to each other, it doesn't work, right? So we are basically creating a single platform with single identity where it works.
Hello everyone, this is Geetika from Nanobits, and today with us is a very special guest, Ankur Goyal, who is a second-time founder and is currently building an AI solution for enterprise marketeers, and he heads Fibr.ai. Ankur, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thanks Geetika for the opportunity. Would love to talk about what we are doing at Fibr.
Cool. Ankur, we can jump right into the questions that I have for you. Tell me, where did the story of Fibr start? What inspired you? What are the problems that you're trying to solve, and who is it aimed for?
Yeah, sure. So Geetika, unlike or what has been told in media around, hey, I woke up and I had a dream of building something like Fibr. That's not the story with Fibr. I think the story for Fibr for me was like I have been doing consumer products for a while, almost for 10 years, running brands, launching my own brands. And as a brand manager, marketer, founder in the past, I realized that there is a significant inflection that's coming into the entire marketing space. Be it the early traction of marketing in metaverse, where like Nikes of the world and the Starbucks of the world were entering, announcement by Apple to preserve privacy of the consumers by killing third-party cookies and then Google following suit, or AI coming in and automating a lot of marketing tasks. I feel like there is significant inflection where marketing as a domain is. And I thought like this is where I want to go in and figure out, because I also have a lot of background, right? Like I have done it over 10 years with multiple organizations, from the likes of Nestle, which is a large giant, to like a very early stage startup like Paperboat in India, and to starting my own company, and me, which was on women's health. So because I've seen all, so I thought maybe I can take a stab at it, right? Like so that's why where it started. We started building with the problem to resolve CAC for marketers and going down. Then we realized that the way to do it is through personalization of their websites for audiences. But all of it like was a journey for us. Like we started in January last year, and like all the products that we kept launching, we kept getting ingrained with the marketers. We started learning from them. We started hearing their problems, and what we realized, most of the solution as an entrepreneur when I thought of was less than 5% of marketers day to day, and where they were struggling was their 95%, which was, hey, I have to launch a campaign, I have to do ideation of that campaign, I have to assign that campaign to my clients, or like, hey, my BA used to create a Facebook ad which is working great and create a 10 copy of that ad, right? Like very small day to day use cases which they require to coordinate with a designer or a copywriter or an outside agency just to implement, where it's as simple as changing the text on top of the creative, right? Like, but because they don't have a handy tool, because there is no all-in-one marketing suite where they can assign task or do what track, it was just not possible. And yeah, so that's where Fibr started, like after talking to 100 plus marketers, realizing their pain. And then what we decided to do is, can we solve with AI the efficiency of marketers in a single marketing suite, which has all their past assets, the information, the insights of their assets, can help with creation and ideation so that they can assign tasks easily and also follow through. Like so that's what we're building. It's like a canvas for marketers.
Got it. Hey, thanks for explaining that in detail, Ankur. Also curious to know, how does Fibr's vision, how does it differ from the traditional approaches, and what benefits does it bring to the enterprise marketeers from the solution that you're putting together?
Yeah. So Geetika, I don't think we compete or we are different from traditional approach, right? Like we are just accelerating and improving efficiency on the traditional approach. So a traditional approach in marketing is that you come up with an idea and then you go to an agency like a Lone Inters and tell them, hey, can you flesh out the idea for me? Or even Loy coming up with the idea, right? Like, and then you do the fleshing out of that idea. They present you 5 different options. Then you choose one of the option. Then you decide a agency who will do the creatives on that option. Then you decide an agency who will do performance marketing creative on that option, or you might have an internal team, right? Like the traditional approach is a lot siloed in different places, right? The ideation starts with marketers, there's nobody involved, and then later stages there are changes. And so the way Fiverr is approaching this is with AI. I think a lot of this could be streamlined very quickly, right? Like initial ideation could be done. Like they could just type in, ask a question. If the AI understand the marketer's brand, if the AI understand the company's values, the company's tone, it can give you better ideas, right? Like it can tell you these are the ideas. Based on the idea, it can also figure out what in the past, what assets you have used that can be utilized in this idea to give direction to your designer to
Very
quickly
nice.
come up with some ideation, right? Like we call a campaign brief, then we have a design brief, then we have a copy brief. We have so many briefs, right? Like in marketing, it just assigns and bring all of it together in one place, and it just makes the process faster for them. And so
Got
that's how. So we are not competing with tradition. We are not competing with marketer. We don't especially believe that the process, the way we are solving things will replace marketers. It is an enabler. It is a way to increase their efficiency.
Understood. Just talking a little more about the competitive landscape. Right now, the martech landscape is, I believe, overcrowded with AI-powered tools. So, what sets FibrAI apart from these other competition, like from the other competition? And if there are any unique features or capabilities that give you a competitive edge over here?
Yeah, I think all the AI powered tools out there are great. The problem that I feel is when you are a large company, right, like a mid market or an enterprise scale company, using 10, 20 tools for your day-to-day work is very, very tough, right? Secondly, even before using, setting off those 10, 20 tools to understand your marketing language, to understand everything that you do, how you write, what kind of creatives you use, what is your color palette is a daunting task in itself. And then getting approvals from your infosec team, IT team, etc. is again a daunting task, right? I think that's the fundamental first thing. Second, with AI, the whole advantage of AI is connecting dots in all in one place, right? Like from creation to the result of that creation. Can I then improve the creation next time? Considering I know that hey, yellow doesn't work for my campaign, but like a orange hue works for me. And can I then pull it back? So when you have multiple tools, unless they talk to each other, it doesn't work, right? So we are basically creating a single platform with single identity where it works, right? So that's the first differentiated advantage. The second one is, unfortunately, with all the hype out there, people feel AI can do anything, right? But if you will really use, if you are a marketer who really used AI, what you will realize that AI can do only to like a 60-70% stuff. Right? AI can write a copy of a Facebook ad, AI can generate an image of a Facebook ad, but it does not decide on audience. Like a separate AI will decide on audience. But the problem is these three things are done in silos. So they might match or not match, you have no idea. Right? So I think where we differ further from AI tools or large AI companies out there is we promise you output, we charge you on output, right? So once the AI does the 70-80%, the last 20% bit we take over. And we have our own internal teams who basically makes it use case ready, where the marketer wants to use it. It's not just an output, it's a proper usable product at the end. So that's where we differ. Like two things. One is we are aggregated, so it helps marketer to train it once, to have all information in one place and to reuse it. And second is we have a human service element to it. So it just helps significantly that they don't have to go to a designer or an agency to do stuff. They can just do it in the tool and ask us to do further refinement.
Got it. Since we're on the topic of AI and how a lot of companies are using to build that solution, how do you respond to some of these skeptics who see AI in marketing as just a passing trend or believe that this is just an NFT fad?
Yeah, I think every trend has a lot of skeptics with it, right? I personally thought crypto NFT not as a trend. So you will always have those things, right? I think most important for me always in any of the trend is how much efficiency, how much output, how much result can they drive, right? When influencers marketing came, people thought it's a fad, right? But it's not a fad. Like if you'll see most AI tools, and this is very crazy, right? Like most AI tools are actually sold through influencers right now.
Yeah.
There are so many podcasts that influencers have created on AI tools.
Yeah.
Right. So I think skeptics will be there. We basically do not engage too much with the skeptics. Also, we focus on our customer because that's the best way, right? Like if your customer feels it's not a fad, you are happy. So the whole idea for us is to make sure we solve real use cases, we solve real things, and not go into where we project, hey, we can do X, Y, Z, which has no meaning to the real world. Like if I can generate an artwork, right? There is no use to a marketer on an artwork versus if I generate a Facebook ad, which could get a lot more click and then eventually. So again, the whole idea of AI, where do you fall in, makes a lot more sense than deciding whether it works or not works, right?
Yeah.
Like it's purely use case and need basis.
Got it. Ankur, let's also touch a little bit about the product from the personalization point of view because that is very important for each of these enterprises, brands, marketeers. We have so many marketing channels and you have different audience target profiles. There are different ways to reach out to them. So, how do marketeers think about personalizing with Fiber? And if like Fiber were to do this, how are you ensuring that there is a fine balance between personalization and privacy?
Yeah. Sure. Thanks a lot for this question. Geetika, I think this is the major BAU for marketers, right? Like every marketer out there wants to personalize. And they want, and like it is not, personalization is not at like a user level, but it's still at a overall cohort level. Like, hey, Geetika is from this particular city and this, and there are like 10,000 other people who are fitting this profile. I want to personalize to her, but I only have 4 creatives, and now that creative shows a kid. Now I want to showcase somebody like Geetika in that creative, or like I have a copy which is for that particular channel, right? So there's a lot of challenges, right, when it comes to marketing. So first of all, whenever you do any content, the most important thing is it should be in your own brand tone, in your own brand voice, right? That's the first challenge with the marketer. So when you do 4 5, which traditionally every marketer used to do, it was fine. But now the channels are like 15, right? And in that channel there are 15 other audiences. So 225 points of context become tough while keeping your brand tone also consistent. While also making sure that when you put something on Facebook, it's for example your brand tone plus Facebook toning together. Like it's in your core tone, but will also have the hues of the Facebook toning, right? Because Facebook toning and Instagram toning are different. If you go to Snap, nobody is going to read like a Facebook or an Instagram. They want like a more Gen Z version of text, right? I think that's a challenge. With Fiverr, what happens is, first of all, before anything, when you set up, we train Fiverr on every aspect of your element and communication, right? We make sure that your brand tone is ingrained in that software that has been given to you. Then we also train on sub channel toning, right? Each of the channel, what is the toning, and then we take on audience because we are connected, we are an integrated system. We train on the audience level sub channel training, right? Now, when you create a content, you write one copy and you say, hey, this is for this channel and this audience, and you say, can you generate the 225 copies across channel across? Fiverr can do it in a click. And so that's the power, right? Like your BO is solved. Like for example, very, very simple thing. If you are writing a LinkedIn post for your founder as a marketer that goes on LinkedIn, but you also want a Twitter out of it, it takes a lot of time right now to repurpose it in Twitter. But with Fiverr, you can do it very quickly, right? Like very small things. If you write a Facebook ad, how do you repurpose it to Google? How do you repurpose it to Instagram? How do you repurpose it to TikTok? Or if you write a blog, can you break down that blog into multiple social media ads, social media communication, small snippets, etc., etc. So all those things, repurposing is very, very possible with Fiber, while keeping the brand tone, etc., intact. Now coming to the privacy point of view, which you raised, I think a lot of it is also infra level. Like a lot of these players, like your Apple and Google, they are already working on towards privacy. The what Fiber doesn't do is Fiber does not let you target based on an individual characteristic. Like you can't go and target, hey, I know this particular characteristic of the person, I'll target. It always in the cohort ecosystem. So you need to have like it needs to be like 100 people, 500 people, 100. It's not per user. So we make sure the user level privacy is retained, but we do it as a cohort level so that it is not targeting one person, but like it's more like, hey, similar interest or something, like which has been done traditionally also. Like we have this SEA. SECA, SECB, SECC categories in marketing, right? Like this kind of person, this kind of person. It's a similar approach that we also take on Fiber while creating audiences in our system.
Got it. I think it's very important, especially in today's time where privacy, safety is becoming all the more important. And especially with all these AI solutions that companies are putting together, there will be a lot of focus on privacy, security, safety, ethical nature of solutions that we are putting out. And I'm glad that you as an organization are thinking about it and putting some solutions for those too.
Yeah. So quick point here, like so, when we are building our AI, the entire AI is built on a principle of responsible AI. It's like a very popular principle. The key points is it's a use case driven. So you can't do face swaps, you can't do different voices if there is no use case, right? Like so that's very, very important for us. It is also controlled. So an employee can't do it and can download it without an approval from a marketer, from unless like an entire marketing group in a company becomes like we want to do a scam. It's very tough to do anything with Fiber. That's all. And then we also have like a large level of security certificate. Like we are SOC 2 compliant, we are ISO 27001 compliant at our stage of 1 year into the journey. We have
That's
been
great.
very, very intentional about data security, privacy, ethical and responsible AI, like all of this, because this is important. Like when you're creating a company, and especially with a new technology, these are the guardrails you have to put in. And so at Fiverr, we have done significantly on that.
Got it. Uncle, let's also move to something very interesting, which is being called as the reverse Turing test. There is a growing trend where clients are rejecting content or any kind of assets that are being built, which demonstrably is human created, stating that they are AI generated. So, what are your thoughts on this reverse Turing phenomena, and how is Fiverr trying to address these concerns? Because at some point we will see a lot of AI generated content, and that authenticity and originality of AI generated content will need to still be maintained.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Okay, so first, like as a founder, I also believe whatever client says, just move forward and do whatever. Like you can always charge. Okay, you want another iteration, charge more. That's fine. And there will be clients who will be ready to pay and will be very tough. But eventually, because it's output driven economy, it will keep on increasing cost for them, and eventually they'll also decide that I use it, else I'll end up paying almost continuously, right? So that's one part. Like whatever your client say, it's fine. Move forward, give them different outputs. That's okay, right? There'll always be tough client. There'll always be easy client. There'll always be client who will say everything is AI generated, and there are ones who will say everything is human generated. I love this. I love that. Like those things will always be there, right? I think most importantly, I don't think there needs to be distinction when it comes to AI generated or human generated. It's an output driven thought process. It should look realistic, right? Like if, like for example, one of our potential clients is a pharma company, right? Now they want that, hey, I want different skylines behind a doctor. I don't want to hire a doctor. Can you generate an AI doctor to showcase, right? Like now you can always do that, and it will look realistic, right? Now the client can say no, face swap this with a real doctor, that we won't do, right? So you have to be, you like, the one thing that has to be understood is it will be AI generated and human generated content out there. You need to just tag them correctly. So at Fiverr, every asset that is created through AI is tagged as AI asset. If there are editing done by a human, there is an AI plus human editing tagging. So we do tagging at all levels. And I'm pretty sure, like, as compliance and as regulation increase, there might be government interference where government will say, hey, you have to tag AI generated, you have to put a visible marker to showcase to the consumer that it's AI generated, and that those things will come in, and we will also implement as they come in. But I think it does not matter whether it's AI generated, human generated, till it's doing its job. And you should ask always the client, hey, what's the job you want it to do? The assets work is to do the job. You tell me what's the job. Now, whether I generate through AI, whether I give it, outsource it to an agency and get it done, or whether I do it myself, that should not be their concern.
Just extending on this a bit and talking about the writing style. We have all these AI writing tools. I'm sure you're putting a bunch of them for the marketeers also. These tools are again being criticized for being overly formal and using a very stilted language. So, how can we ensure that this AI generated content quickly adapts to different styles and tones, including those specific to non native English speakers? Where in India, we definitely have a very large population, we have so many languages. So, how does Fiverr want to adapt to this and in the corporate writing environments? And just as a funny context, there was a lot of discussion on Twitter a few weeks back where this rising usage of delve in the writing is seen for the first time because a lot of content is being generated through AI and does not sound very human like.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's not the fault of AI. I think it's a lot more around how an AI be trained. Okay, so very simple example. If if you have a kid, right, and from the childhood you put the kid with Mr. Shashi Tharoor, right? The kid will talk exactly like him, even if he's a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, 10-year-old. He'll use big words, right? Um, that's how AI is, right? Like when you say, "Hey, I want like a great language, etc." AI goes to revolutionizing technology and all those big words rather than new technology, right? A new technology has become everywhere as a revolutionizing technology with no difference. Like the meaning is exactly what they want to communicate, but because it's AI generated, it becomes revolutionized, right? Like very simple words. So the way Fiverr is, okay, so you should actually see www.fibr.ai, our website. We wrote all our content through AI. You see the copies, right? Initially, when we started writing, we also faced the same problem, and then we trained on a brand language. We said one other thing that I always say marketers, and like this is general to anybody, if you're using an AI tool, tell them to use words which a 5-year-old can understand, which a non-native English speaker can understand. And then you see the outputs. The outputs toned down become more human, right? Anyways, like moving all away from this, Fiverr as a brand, as a company, as a software, first trains the AI on human generated content of your company. So what happens is we actually pick that tone up. We might not be professional because the company is not professional. We might be funny because the company is funny, right? So we might be very sagey and knowledgeable because the company is knowledgeable. So we basically make sure that the AI understand what your tone is, how you write, right? And then only picks up different tones. So the output that we generate is not robotic like AI. It's more how your brand talks to you. It's their voice, it's their sound. And so we have been able to tackle this challenge. If the marketer again comes back and to say, hey, I want to use simple words, they can go to our tool, they can say, use simple words in AI. Our AI will understand, will always make sure that the copy then is written is more in more simpler words, right? Then the delve will not come in, right? Then a revolutionize will not come in. Right? If you'll see, there's this whole we keep on joking because we have been writing copy for our website. So we keep on joking and everybody is saying emphasize, revolutionize. Like every word starts that way now, right? Every tagline starts that way. The revolutionize tag for this. And so we was like when we were discussing our own brand values at Fiverr, we said, hey, we are a simple company. We want to communicate in the most simple ways to market is what we do. And so that's what we built. And if you will like go through our copy, you'll realize that it's super simple because we've been able to train an AI. But again, that copy is not human, it's AI. So you will be able to see that.
That is quite an interesting insight that you've given, and how we can play around with some of these tools so that we don't sound like we are just creating like machine related, outputs. Also, let's address the elephant in this conversation, if not in the room. There is a growing concern, Ankur, that AI will replace marketing teams. A lot of tools are being put together for marketeers, especially. How are you addressing this concern, and if you see that AI will play a role in rather augmenting than replacing the human marketeers?
I think uh, I think whoever says that AI will replace marketers does not understand either AI or marketing, right? I don't think AI can replace any marketing. The work is very core, right? A just do it as a campaign, and AI cannot think. They could not figure out just do it as a tagline, right? It will always start with marketers. What it will eventually help marketers to reduce their operational work, right? Like there's so much operational work, adapting content to different channels, writing different copies, doing multiple designs. If some design is working, changing backgrounds on those designs, those are our operational day-to-day work, which a marketer end up investing too much time on, right? AI is going to make that efficient, so that when you used to do one or two campaigns, you can now do five, because the cost went down, the number of people went down, number of people in terms of coordination went down, right? The agency called back and forth went down, because there is a tool who understand you already. So when you write a design brief, it already has some visual to showcase it to them. Now you don't have to say, hey, why don't you understand, I'm trying to visualize this. Like, you don't have to say verbally, right? All of this could become on a tool. So first of all, like, very strongly, AI will never replace marketers. Actually, AI will never replace any job. It will make it more efficient. It will replace the multiplication effort. Like, I don't need 1,000 CRM people or customer support. I might need only 100, right? And those 900 who are left will be used somewhere else. But it is not going to take away the jobs for sure. So the fiber is basically addressing, because fiber is an augmentation tool. It helps them to be very efficient, and not nothing more than that.
Any new skill set or like a mindset shift that you would want to give to marketers that they can adopt so they thrive in this AI powered marketing landscape, than again like feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, so I think marketers should not change the way they think. I think they are very powerful that they have been. The tools needs to change. They needs to adapt to how marketers think, align. Like when we started designing Fiverr, we were very clear that it needs to be very simple to use. It needs to be the way they do day to day work, so that it works. Right? Like, the only thing I think marketers need, not a skill set, but something is trust AI, right? Like, they have to trust AI that yes, it's going to make me efficient. And like any tool, and again giving the kid reference, like any kid, you need to be patient for a couple of minutes, couple of hours, or couple of days, depending on how severe the condition is. But once you are done, once you are sorted, I think this will like give you significant joy over time. So for me, like, with marketers, trust is the most important element they need to have with AI. And I think everything else will fall
Reminds
in
me
place, and
of
they'll have
one
more time.
leadership principle that we used to have. It's actually not a leadership principle, but it was a saying within Amazon when I used to work with them: trust but verify. So I think that is
Yeah.
exactly what you're alluding to. You should trust the tools, you should trust the system, but at the same time ensure that you verify the outputs. And this is where the human element comes into play. Ankur, this brings me to the last segment, and which is what a lot of listeners would want to take back from this conversation. Any advice that you have for entrepreneurs who are building AI powered products in India, and specifically in the marketing space? Also, if you could talk about some lessons that you have learned, share with them so that they can pick some of those references.
I think one key lesson for me was, when I was building, initially we were building thinking, hey, this is what the problem is, and build, right? Like, what I realized, and when you go directly without showcasing something, without just open questions, you'll get a lot of problems from marketers. And some of them are 1%, some of them are 2%. Unless you quantify it with them, you will not understand. So most important lesson from me for me in this journey has been that, hey, okay, this is a problem. How severe is the problem? How big is the problem? How is it a day-to-day problem? Is it a week on week problem, is it a month on month problem? Knowing that helps a lot, because then when you are building, you exactly know if they are not using it daily, when even if it is a day-to-day problem, you are not solving that problem correctly, right? So that is one of the big thing. In general, I think a very very general principle that I follow and I feel entrepreneurship is built on is just talk to customers, understand from them, and rather than doing it yourself. And second, build, launch, try to sell. If it doesn't work, pivot, build, launch, try to sell. Pivot is a very 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 good word. People should pivot, not fear how your what your parents, families, relatives will think, what your investors will think. If it solves your customer's problem, do that. Doesn't matter who else and whatever, like your employees, anybody out there thinks, it does not matter at all.
Very interesting. Completely agree and align with what you mentioned about pivot. It's so important. A lot of us start giving up when there is this moment to pivot, not knowing what's there in the future. But what we don't realize is that taking a different direction could actually turn out to be beneficial for you. So, thank you for sharing all of those wonderful insights. And Ankur, thank you so much for coming on this podcast today. Your insights on how AI would be driving the marketing aspects in future have been extremely fascinating for me to listen. And I'm sure a lot of listeners would take back a lot of insights from what you've told and build on something in the marketing space using technology. I myself have been following a lot of trends in the marketing space, but the conversations that we had today were definitely very, very interesting, because this is where tech is playing an important role now in a space like marketing, where we were not thinking too like deep about how technology can solve, right? And it's also evolving, and there is just so much that is surprising us every single day. So we would love to have you back again on Nanobits at some time when you have more things coming out of Fibr.ai, so that we can talk about those technologies and what groundbreaking things you are building. The invitation is always open. Thank you once again for your time, Ankur.
Hey, thanks Gitika, thanks for having me.